All right. Welcome everyone to our monthly advisor data webinar. This for August here. Today on the schedule, I've got some advisor updates, and Naomi will be talking about staff reporting. We also have two pre-recorded sessions here that you can view through the anydataconference.com website if needed. That is the new data steward training. This is the same recording we had last year. Everything still applies though, so if anyone is a new data steward, we definitely recommend that, and as well as feel free to contact the service desk and they can help get you set up. We also have a introduction kind of to everything about using Advisor Person ID. If you're new to the Advisor Person ID app, definitely I recommend you guys take a look at that as well. All right, let me talk about Advisor. First, and just wanted to mention, please use the Q&A panel in Zoom if you need to ask any questions. So what's going on with 22-23? End of year locked reports are available in Advisor Validation. I mean, those were available last month as well. So we are officially in the follow-up collection now. Essentially, that starts July 1st. Follow-up collection always runs through October 2nd. That is the date, technically the last date that is in statute for you to find dropouts and change them from being dropouts. Follow-up collection that includes the most common data in the follow-up collection is course data, graduation records, as well as dropout records, and either adding dropouts or removing dropouts, and special education data. Districts really shouldn't do anything to damage their existing 22-23 data though. That includes enrollment data, demographics data. We hope no one needs to touch that data. We have ran into just a handful of PowerSchool districts though that seem to have removed their graduation records. Just reviewing that data, I noticed there's, I don't know, just a handful that had 0 or 10% graduation rates. So everyone, please review the completer report, the GCAT report in 22-23 in Advisor Validation. That is the cohort rate you see there is what we will lock in. That will eventually be used for accountability, as well as public reporting it through the NEP. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to look through everyone who has a seemingly low grad rate, and we'll probably be sending out some emails to superintendents soon though. So yeah, please be able to get that updated by October 2nd. All right. Big news here for 23-24. We are moving into the final testing phase finally for our EdFi upgrade for 23-24, as well as moving all of the advisor servers over to the Microsoft Azure cloud system. We'll be so NDE will be working with our vendor Edwise to test all of the EdFi API functions on the new server. We'll also be testing Advisor Validation on its new server. That is also moving. In addition, we have begun certification testing with vendors already. I've got one down. I've got meetings scheduled with 2 others at the moment, and I assume I'll be scheduling more of those meetings in the next couple of weeks here. There's a link to the website there where I post the certification results. One change that will be coming soon in 23-24, once we've got the new year turned on and running validation errors, is that we will be setting up a special category and moving any of those errors that run in 23-24 but look back at 22-23 data into their own category, so they'll be a little bit easier to focus on. Unfortunately, we won't be able to run those until after you are able to send 23-24 data, however. So this is just something we've put together really in the last 2 days. We do have a tentative rollout plan. We are looking at Friday, September 1st as the date to roll out Advisor. So we're going to take Advisor down for that day. We need to take Advisor, we need to take everything offline, especially because we need to prevent any data changes from coming in. So once everything is static and nothing's changing, we're going to take all of your existing 22-23 data and move that over to its new home. Well, at the same time, we'll be getting the 23-24 database set up. We'll also then at that time update the NDE portal so that it'll link to the new location for Advisor validation. You won't even really notice. I mean, you might see a different URL, but as far as getting to Advisor validation for you, that will be the same. You just go to our portal, click the link, and it sends you over there. So during this downtime, us and our vendor will be verifying all the functions of the API, verifying the validation site, verifying the overnight data loads and the overnight error runs. All of that's working. Our plan is to use that Labor Day weekend, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, to verify all of that. And we should have the site ready and open by Tuesday morning, the 5th. Just a reminder, also, as I had mentioned before, since we're moving all of the servers over, and that includes the current home of the 22-23 data, that existing URL you're using now to send data up for the follow-up collection for 22-23 is not going to work after September 1st. If you try to send anything there, you're just going to get an error in the sys, I believe. You know, that can look different depending on your sys. So starting when things are up and running again, September 5th, you would have to update the EdFi URL that you have for 22-23. But once you change that URL over, all your existing data should be there, and you can continue sending in stuff like normal to the new URL. The instructions on that will vary depending on the sys. I know several of the vendors will just make that change for you and you don't have to do anything. On others, you may have to go into your EdFi setup and put in the new URL. So I expect that you will probably see some communication from your SIS vendor if that's the case. And essentially, these are the URLs we'll be using here. You know, we're not putting anything under that Nebraska Cloud name right now. These are just basically this is what the URLs look like for things that are hosted on Azure. So I see no real reason to change that. So that is the preview of what we'll be doing with the deployment. I hope so. Obviously we're later than we wanted, but I'm hoping this will still allow everyone to be productive throughout September. And I don't think we're going to need to delay any of the due dates. Although if things blow up or if everyone's having a lot of problems with the new system, obviously we will always take that into account again. So we should also be having another one of these webinar meetings right probably a week after we are live with the new site. So I'm sure we'll be talking about it again. Any questions about the process? Anything anyone's worried about here? Please drop it in the Q&A. Katie said, good question. Should we wait to push things to advise it till after September 5th? If you are making changes to 22-23 data for the follow-up collection, you could do that now. And in fact, it might be a good idea to go ahead and get that done. That'll probably make your life easier to do that before September 1st. However, when it comes to 23-24 data, yes, you will not be able to do any 23-24 data publishing until after, till September 5th. Carrie said, can you get the URL again? The URL is posted in the slides, which is available at anydataconference.com. Under August here, it's under advisor update. But again, you should not be using those URLs now. And I expect, well, I'll probably your SIS vendor will probably put some communication together to tell you exactly what you need to do to get the URL set up. So so I would say wait and hear from your SIS. Greg was asking, just to verify, the URLs change, but key and secret stay the same. That is correct. We are always maintaining the same key and secrets, so you do not need to change those. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions come in. So also for the vendors on the call here, I've got to update a few things in our documentation. I'll send an email to all of you soon here as well. All right, that's all I have for the advisor updates. Next up, we will have Naomi. Let me see, assuming she got her on.
Yeah. Yep. I got it. I'm here. It's working. Maybe we can show them, Max, the two presentations that were pre-recorded on the data webinar site while we're kind of waiting, because I don't think I'm supposed to start until 10, and I don't know if we should wait or not, but
yeah. I can do that. Yeah, as I mentioned, the data steward training that has been set up before, but this is everything introducing people to the portal, to consolidated data collections, to advisor validation, advisor person ID. If anyone here is new in your role at all, it's definitely a good idea to review. This also covers a lot of staff things: staff ID, staff reporting, and SRS validation, which we use for staff. So or I guess the slides say oh no, sorry, it's from August 2022. Okay.
Yeah, we repurposed last year's because the information was still the same year over year.
And in the advisor person ID, I believe we did update that compared to the old version, just to make sure everything's current. But this is really just a full introduction to every screen in person ID, how to search, how to do file uploads, how to see the batch status, going into some of the common issues with file uploads, doing near matches, everything like that. Denise has recorded that one for us, or both of them, I believe. So those videos are available here, and as well as, you know, these are all on our YouTube channel. But yeah, I'd say you could probably kick it off, Naomi, a bit. Everyone's probably here for that, and we'll have the recording if anyone needs to go back to hear about staff reporting.
Okay. Do you mind displaying for me, since my internet is wonky today? I'm on 2 different Wi-Fis, going back and forth between which one will work better for me. Thanks, Max. All right. I'm just going to give it I just feel like I want to give it a couple more minutes, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so staff reporting for the 23-24 school year. We're hoping to get this up and running live end of this week. This presentation is to help you understand generally how staff reporting works, understand some resources. Actually, if you go to the next slide here, what I talk through is calendar due dates, different resources, kind of guidance, general guidance, a few reminders from learnings from last year when we had some new stuff, and then discussing one tiny little change, and then possibly some new items to come in the middle of the year based on just what is going to work best for the schools and districts. So let's dig into the calendar and due dates first. So this presentation is linked on the webinar site, and each of those red underlined phrases are hyperlinks. So that is a hyperlink to the calendar, which will show you all the due dates that are kind of listed down here. Like I said, we're going to hope to open it end of this week. I'm going to send a bulletin item as soon as it's open, but it does open early August every year. We have a statutory deadline for public districts and non-public schools of September 15th. So it can be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to have time to get your staff reporting data updated for the 23-24 school year. Then we have another deadline in October, middle of October, with an audit window through the end of the month. And that is because we utilize the data that you send us and we pull various lists from staff reporting. We use it in early November for email addresses, which publish to the education directory. You'll see a link there. In December, we pull the data for non-public schools and we put it into a non-public curriculum collection, which is all where they report all their courses. So there are various lists that are pulled throughout the year, which is why it's important to get the one-time update done, but then kind of go back into your staff reporting collection and make updates as they occur. At the very end of the school year, June 30th, we have our final year-end deadline, and that's for everybody. And we do not accept changes after this date. So it's really important to get your information, kind of review it again at the end of the year, just to make sure everything's still accurate. Yeah, go ahead, next slide. Thanks, Max. So now let's talk about some different resources available to you when you're completing your staff reporting collection. This link here, the resources link, links you to a staff reporting page where we have old manuals, including the existing new manual. And for staff reporting specifically, we're collecting various data sets. So we're collecting staff demographics and we're collecting position assignment information. So some of those demographics that we're collecting can include the first and last name, gender, ethnicity, race, salary, email. That's just a few examples. And then some of the position assignment information we collect is specific to what school building are they working in? When did they start working? What is their position code? What's their FTE or their days worked if they're a substitute? And I consider staff reporting kind of a 2 to 3 step process. I'm going to call it a 2-step process here. One, you add the staff reporting collection to your account, you get everything updated, you review everything, including errors in it. Then you go to a second collection, NSSRS validation, and you're going to go there and you're going to review, there's some additional errors there, and you're also going to view your reports there. So we'll kind of talk through that 2-step process here in a little bit. Thanks. So that first collection is named Staff Reporting 2023-2024. And every year it's a brand new collection. So every year you're minimally going to be adding a new collection to your account. You'll have to get a new activation code from your portal district administrator, typically your superintendent, and you're going to add that collection to your account. The second collection that I talked about, NSSRS validation, you only need to add to your portal account one time. Once you've added it, you can see multiple years within it. The catch being that you need the activation code for the user type staff data steward. This user type allows you to view the staff data. So if you have access to that collection, but you can only see student data, because we used to use it way back in the day for student and staff data, get the new activation code from your portal district administrator for the staff data steward user type. So once you've got your activation codes, you're going to go to your portal account and click on the student and staff NSSRS tab. You'll notice in the bottom section, these are the collections that are available to you. And you'll see various ones. I have circled here NSSRS validation and staff reporting, because once they're blue like that, that means you can click through and open them. If they're not blue, it means, see the ones in between there, it means you don't have access either anymore, or you need to add the collection to your account. So once you've added staff reporting to your account, you'll see this main page here. And on this main page, you'll see there are 2 methods of submission. One is called enter edit data, and that's basically entering information on an individual staff person basis. And then the other option is uploading and downloading staging file records. So these are files. If you're a larger district or school, you're going to upload 2 different files to send us that information. And then also linked on that page is the staff manual. So I talked about the resource webpage earlier. That's one place you can find it. The other place you can find it is on the home main page of the collection. So each year, and that's what we're in the process of doing right now, data from the prior year's staff reporting collection is auto-populated into the new year. But we exclude some of the information because we know it's not the same every year. Some of those exceptions, I call them exceptions or missing data points. The staff person is going to need an update. Every staff person, even if they work for you last year, is going to need an update every single fall, because even though we're auto importing most of that information, you're going to have to tell us their start date, because that changes every year. It's obviously not 2022 this year. And then throughout the year, you're going to want to make updates too. But those missing data point examples include things like salary, and then, as I mentioned, start date. Then the other method of submission, if we talked about the, and so the first one, sorry, there's 2 methods of submission. One is the file download upload, and there are a couple steps to this process. First, we always recommend that you download last year's files. Have that be the first thing you do. There's 2 different files, demographics and position assignment. And the reason we do that is because once you start uploading things, it's going to get rid of everything. So download last year's files, have that be your first step. Then you're going to make updates into the file if you need, or maybe you have a student information system that updates those files for you, and you're going to upload them one at a time. You're going to start with the demographics information that has to be uploaded first, and then you're going to upload the position assignments file. And as we found with all file uploads, that formatting really has to be perfect. So if you encounter any issues when you're doing that, the system should give you an error message. Oh, your file is not named correctly, or oh, look at line 29. That you're missing X data points. So that can be really helpful too. So I just want to reiterate, once you start re-uploading stuff, anything that's old and existing is gone. So it's really important to make sure to download and save those files someplace if you want to keep onto that pre-existing information. Then the other type of submission is the individual entry edit. So this might be a really good method for a smaller school that has fewer staff, because you're just going to go in and one by one update the staff person's information, add new people if you need, delete people who are no longer with your school. So this could be helpful for a smaller. I mean, you could do it if you're a bigger school district too, but it might take you a little bit longer. This is a good method too if you're just making updates to like one person. There's no sense uploading an entire file if you just need to update one person's information. So once all of your data is submitted, you're going to actually go into enter edit data, and you're going to review staff reporting for errors. I think sometimes this step kind of gets missed. So you click entry edit data on the home page, and then in the list of alphabetized staff, you click on the errors only. This is going to display a drop-down menu of all the staff that have any errors within staff reporting itself. So an example could be invalid gender code, meaning gender code's missing and we got to have some data there, or invalid positions assignment date. This is the error that you typically start staff reporting with every single person, because there's nothing there. And so the system's like, we got to have that information. That's a required field. Once you've got staff reporting in a good place, you've made sure there's no errors in staff reporting, then you're going to go to that second collection, NSSRS validation, and you're going to do some further reviewing. First, you're going to start with your errors, and you're going to look at these. These take the data that you've sent us, and it compares it to some various other systems outside of staff reporting, example, certification, teach. And it's going to tell you, oh, this person's certificate expired, or it's going to say this person isn't endorsed to be a principal, so we need a different kind of license for that. If you need to reprocess errors, there is a way to do that. Otherwise, you can wait overnight, and that's when the system will automatically reprocess errors. But if you make updates in staff reporting one day and you look at NSSRS validation the same day, it's not going to update those errors unless you manually reprocess them or wait for the overnight process. The other thing you're going to do in NSSRS validation is review your verification reports. So this is a various listing of different reports that can list the staff, who's certified, who's everyone you've reported, and all the data reported about them. And we use other systems to create some of these reports too. So we have like a teachers out of endorsed report, and that's us taking the course data from advisor and non-public curriculum and comparing it against the list of teachers and their endorsements in the certification system. And then there's also a report in there for like GMS and talks about some statewide licensures. So this is a link to our DHHS lookup site for licenses. That's something we also compare data against. The other thing that NSSRS validation can be really helpful for is viewing past year staff data. So let's say you're a new superintendent this year, you don't know what was submitted last year. So you can actually go to NSSRS validation, change the year at the top of the collection, and you can view the reports from previous years. So this can be extremely helpful too. Some additional resources when you're working with your staff data could be the NDE staff ID collection. Let's say you have a new para and you don't have a staff ID for that person. You can go ahead and create them in this collection. We like to remind people to try and use the social security number when they're creating that as much as possible, because let's say that para then in a couple of years goes and gets her certificate. If her social security number is in NDE staff ID, you can continue to use that staff ID. But if she goes and gets certified and it creates a new ID, you're going to have to switch them out. It can be kind of cumbersome to do. This is a link to the public certification lookup site. Can be very helpful if you are a data steward and you don't have access to your business partner portal, which is the superintendent side of the certification system, which is another helpful resource for you. All right, so let's talk about some reminders. We've made it through 22-23 staff reporting, and we had 2 new positions, substitutes and coaches. And so I think it's important to remind you that they're still in staff reporting. This is going to be the 2nd year they're in there. We moved the substitutes last year from a CDC collection, which is gone, and put them into staff reporting. And so you're now reporting their days worked in staff reporting. So you may not have them at the beginning of the year, but it's important to get your substitute list, kind of up to date to where you think these are the people that might sub for us. And then throughout the year going into staff reporting and updating, oh, well, that person moved to Illinois. Remove them altogether. They're not working for us. Or add the new substitute. This person started subbing for us. And then coaches were added last year as well. And we have a lot of questions about which coaches to report. And I think it's really important to note any coach that is governed under NSAA, they are the ones that you want to report in staff reporting if you're not reporting them already. So this would be someone who is not necessarily the math teacher, because boom, you got them already in staff reporting. You don't have to report their coaching responsibilities. This is the person who's coming from outside the district, doesn't do any teaching, but is just coaching, let's say high school cross country. You got to get them reported in there. So if staff leave during the middle of the year, we don't want you to remove them from staff reporting. It's really important to capture the work that they did do midway through the year. So you'll keep them in there and you'll actually just use a completion date to end their time. Another good example is someone switches roles midway through the year. So let's say they're a teacher first semester, you're going to date them, start and end that first semester, and then second semester they become the principal. So then the second semester, their start date is going to be that first day of the second semester, and their end date is going to be the end of the year. And that way you can put them at 100 FTE for both roles because you have a start and an end date in there.
We've got a question about the substitutes. Do you report them in the buildings, or can you just report them at the district?
Right. You can report them just at the district, which is the 000 number on most systems. If they only work at one school, or let's say they work at 2 different schools, that's helpful information. And if it's easy enough for you to break out their role between those 2 schools, great. That's helpful for all of us to do it that way. But we know also that there's subs that support 10 different schools within one district. Report them at the 000, the district level, and that can make your life easier. All right, so another reminder, educator certification uses the FTE and days work data from staff reporting when they're evaluating cert renewals. So in staff reporting, it's a 100 FTE if they're full-time. I know in some other systems it can say 1, and that means full-time, but it's an important caveat because there's an error in the NSSRS validation collection that says you've got this staff person and they're only working 1 FTE. Is that correct? And it may be like at an ESU, you break out staff by a bunch of different districts and they only work 1 FTE at each, totally valid. Ignore that warning. But if you've got a teacher at 1 FTE, it's likely they probably need to be changed to a 100. And it's just so important because it helps them get their renewal. And if the FTE is not reported correctly, it's more challenging for them to earn the time that works towards their experience with their renewal. And then again, just that constant reminder to review your errors and reports and NSSRS validation throughout the year versus waiting until you're reminded at the end of the school year. And I say this because I know in the bulletin announcement, when we send it, when the staff reporting collection is open at the end of this week, it's going to say in there, hey, once you've got your teachers reported, look in NSSRS validation and see whose certificates are expiring on 8/31 of 23. Right? You can look right away and see that list of people and get on them and make sure that they already have an application in, or you know the status to make sure that you have that certified teacher in the classroom come September 15th or whatever day. We'll have maybe a couple work days about staff reporting. Look for a bulletin for that. Probably not until maybe that first couple weeks of September. We'll focus on those. And then the last thing to kind of talk through is I mentioned there was one change year over year with staff reporting. And for the paraprofessionals, the instructional paraprofessionals, there's an assessment pass flag. And one of the codes that was utilized over the last couple of years was ODE5, allowable locally approved means. And that code has been removed. So now your instructional paras need to pass one of the assessments, and the locally approved will no longer be an option for that. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact us or the federal programs team about any of those requirements. So here's now where Max and I want your feedback. We're talking with the certification teams, the SPED team, accreditation, about adding some possible new teacher examples for districts, for schools, to add some teachers to staff reporting to help them earn renewal experience. So these would be teachers who are not contracted with you. Examples include online or distant learning course teachers, or maybe your contract service providers. Right now, we don't have a way to capture experience for these folks. So when they're trying to renew their certificate, it can be challenging because that experience flows into the certification system, and that's what the cert analysts utilize to gauge the renewals. And do you have the experience? Have you been teaching in order for us to renew your certificate? So some ideas that we've bopped around and that we're considering for these particular folks is, one, they would be reported as not contracted, because clearly they're not a contracted teacher with your district. You're utilizing them likely on an ad hoc basis. So what does that look like? Would we use maybe a unique SPI code? Those are those little digits that go before the four code position assignment. Possibly no FTE. How would that look? So I just want to kind of elevate it, bring it up as a discussion point. If you have thoughts, feelings about it, of course, email us or let us know here, but it's just an idea that we're considering, and we really would like to utilize your feedback. Yeah, Max, anything else on that?
Yeah, just if I were a district, I'd probably want to suggest that I'm guessing these teachers are not people that you will be able to collect, or that you're obviously not going to have their salary data, as your district doesn't pay their salary. Experience data, highest education level. I'm assuming all of the usual fields like that are stuff we wouldn't get. I'm assuming we would probably only collect data on them at the same level that we collect the data for like paras or substitutes or coaches.
It'd have to be a unique set of data collected, because some of it we know you don't have.
Carolyn's got a comment about staff contracted to a school district from an ESU, which is a little bit different than what we're talking about here, though, but also similar. Yeah, the district doesn't have to report that staff if the ESU reports them. But yes, Carolyn, you're right. This is for state licensed people that are not with a public district, or, well, a public district, a non-public district, or an ESU. But I believe there are other types of staff that still get certificated because they work with students, but are not covered by anyone that sends us data through staff reporting.
Yeah. I think maybe that could be a contract service provider, something like that.
And Carolyn definitely says different SPI code for that.
Yeah. I think that's where we're leaning, just because that would be easier to make sure that we're excluding any of those data point checks of, hey, we got to have this information on this person or this information. It's like, no, we know you're not going to have that. So that's kind of where we're leaning.
There's a lot of data that's run that's looking at teachers for your district, and we wouldn't necessarily want to include these people in most of those.
Okay.
Yeah, Suzanne said Columbus has a lot different assignment code. So yeah, the SPI code is part of that assignment code. So that is essentially what we're referring to. Oh yeah, sorry, Deanna. We were a little quick. Or I should say I was. So we started the staff section early. We do have the slides, and the recording will be posted on the NEDataConference.com website. We have the slides now, and we should get that recording posted like within a day, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully when I send that bulletin with the staff reporting collection being open, I'll have a link in there to the data webinar page so that you can also view the recording through that link too. So we'll certainly make sure it's up by that time. All right, I think that was my last slide, Max. Can you confirm my suspicion? Yep, totally. Okay. And then just a preview of September. Max talked about his monthly advisor updates, that we'll have that, and then we'll likely have a presentation about the advisor follow-up collection and what that process is going to look like. Max already touched a lot on what that may be. And then just a reminder that we have those 2 pre-recorded sessions for new data stewards and advisor person ID. You know, if you start a ticket with the service desk, we are certainly going to utilize these as resources for you and refer you this way. But please let us know if there's something missing, or if you have questions, or there's information sessions that you desire that would be helpful for you. Yes, Chris, I see your question. There will be work days for staff reporting, likely in early September. I'll do a bulletin specific to those. They're shorter. They're typically just a couple hours each. And I try to get folks from the various teams, federal programs, SPED, who have a little vested interest in some of this data to attend. So we'll certainly get those dates out to you as soon as possible. Philip has a question unrelated. Is there an approximate availability date for the exempt schools list? The teams are working fast and furiously on exempt school data. Right now, the priority is to get the homeschool families signed up and registered in the system. I know that they are still doing that. Next step would be for them to have some administration sort of evaluation on the back end. I know the collection in the portal, the exempt schools collection, doesn't typically open until the end of August. I wouldn't imagine it opening any sooner than that this year either. I would see it probably opening in September sometime. And then Lois asked about, I don't usually download or upload staff files. Is this something I need to start doing? I mean, it's really a judgment call for each school and system based on how many staff you have. You know, as you're a growing school and you have more staff to report every year, and let's say your student information system provides you a great templated file that you can download that's automatically in the formatting, that might be an option for you. That might be easier. It's really just kind of for you to evaluate, and then you go make in your individual updates throughout the year. That might be a reasonable option for you.
As long as the data is getting in there, though, you don't have to use the upload and download files.
Yeah. The methodology is completely up to you. So if you're happy with the individual updating, keep on keeping on. Any other questions for us?
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Like I said, we'll get the video recording of this posted here on the website. And I believe our next meeting is September 12th. Oh, wait, sorry, one more question here.
Is there a
Physical
way? Yeah, do you know this one, Max?
No,
Okay.
I don't, but
I do. I just learned this, actually. Denise and I just learned this, which is really interesting. The physical address of the homeschools, once that collection's open, is actually available when you download the file. It's like an Excel file, and the address is in that file. So that might help.
They had a student who was homeschooled for 3 years that was listed under our school. Oh, as in they were a resident of your district. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, hopefully then the report in the system should be able to help you, Christy.
And if that doesn't work, email us at the service desk.
All right. Any other questions, anyone? All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for joining, everyone, and we'll see you in September then.